Hey guys, I'm the end spoken label back in the house Sunday afternoon. All my jobs are done for the day. It's a great time to catch up with an old friend today. And I've just horrified this old friend with me today because it's been 4 years since this friend of mine was last on spoken label. I can't believe it. So we've got the fantastic Sam Rapp with us today. Now, I last spoke to Sam on here, it was 4 years ago. And I don't believe that. It's I was just telling you, Sam, wasn't I? Like it felt like about a year or two ago was the last time I spoke to you on here. And it goes like that. So now,
Yeah, can't believe it's 4 years, and we haven't changed a bit, have we?
no,
We look
both of us,
amazing.
and you always look amazing, right? So it's you know what it is. I always say we're both growing old disgracefully. So now, Sam, obviously for people that don't know you, I think we should start off. Tell people a little bit about yourself, and we'll start from there, okay? Because we've got plenty of ground to cover from today, definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Andy, and thank you so much for inviting me to be your guest for the podcast. It's really lovely to see you again after 4 years. um,
Crazy.
so, yeah, my name is Sam Rapp. I'm a neuro-diverse writer. I'm a poet, a playwright, and short story writer. I hail from the south. I was brought up in sort of London and Brighton, and I now live in Kent. And I've described myself as a mixed heritage woman because my family on my mother's side is Irish, Austrian, and Polish. And in fact, my grandmother came over from Ireland and lived in Manchester for a bit. And my dad's side is sort of Ukrainian and Egyptian and yeah, a mix, a real mix of that. So I sort of say I'm a Heinz 57 variety, I think. A
Yeah.
mixture of everyone, a mixture of everything, which I really like that idea. So I'm also dyslexic, dyspraxic, dyscalculia, and I'm slightly autistic. So dyslexia manifests in many ways. Poor memory recall, sequencing, and I have difficulty with reading and writing and grammar and spelling. So I use assistive software and I can read and write better with the aid of that. And also I use Orange a lot because I can read text in Orange better. Dyspraxia, I'm absolutely hilarious in a dance class because I get confused with my left and right and my coordination goes out, but I can laugh about it now. And dyscalculia, don't ask me what my times table are. I don't know what they are. And I don't understand numbers particularly well. So if someone said, what's 30 meters? I wouldn't understand what that is, but I can deal with things differently. So if someone said 30 meters is from that blue car to that black car, I'd understand that distance. So I'm a visual and phonetic dyslexic. I also do disability advocacy, so I'm very passionate about inclusion and accessibility for everybody, whether you're working in a post office, a shop, or you're a judge and juror. Inclusion is a big part of what I do. So hopefully that's sort of explained a bit about what I'm up to.
Yeah, he's. We've got people wondering, Sam. She's incredibly busy, and that's what I love. I respect about you because something I can relate to. You've not let disabilities hold you back, and it's like I remember you telling me like last time we spoke, you were home. I know you were homeless at one point, and
Yeah.
and your full story is starting from there. So I think we better tell people very briefly about that, and then we can look
Yeah.
at how you've actually what you're doing now because it's incredible. But you just told me off, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose it started back at home and school. My parents, I'm sure at one point they loved each other dearly, but then things fell apart and there was a lot of domestic violence in the home. So we experienced that and witnessed that. And I found solace in animals and writing, and that was kind of my escape. And then when they did finally divorce and live their separate ways, I found myself homeless because I couldn't get a job because I had no qualifications, because I didn't get diagnosed as a kid with dyslexia. I didn't actually understand what dyslexia meant. I'd never heard of the word. all I knew was that I struggled with reading and writing and filling forms in and not really understanding why I wasn't the same as somebody else. And so I went through school having difficulties. And when I went to secondary school, the difficulties really manifested, I suppose, themselves. Because I was not bullied by my peers, but bullied by the system. So I was called stupid and useless and thick, and you wouldn't amount to anything, and you're pathetic, and all those kind of nasties about people's non-understanding of different diverse conditions. And I then left school with no qualifications at 15, tried to take my own life at 14 because I was fed up with being bullied by the system. Funnily enough, I was called back by a friend on my way to the railway line. Sounds awful, but I can kind of laugh about it now. But they said, "Oh, where are you going, Sam? You've got a class and it's your favourite, it's PE." And I said, "Oh yeah." So I kind of went back and got out of my that kind of hit me a bit. And so I was told I couldn't enter any exams because I was too stupid. And so I left school at 15 with no qualifications, couldn't really get a job, worked on the pier, did a bit of washing up, did loads of different jobs. I've had so many jobs, I could probably run out of fingers. And then eventually I became homeless at 18. I had my dog, I had a shopping trolley.
So that always I always remember that you telling about that, the shopping trolley. Oh God, last time I spoke to you.
Yeah, and I had my black bin bag and I was squatting. I'll tell you a funny story, and I don't know if I said this last time, but there's a program which I have to admit to watching. It's called Four in a Bed, and it's basically a program about people who go around B&Bs and they judge them. So they judge them on food and they judge them on what the rooms look like and all that kind of stuff. And there was one that they did in Brighton. And it was this beautiful Regency building by Brighton Pier, overlooking Brighton Pier along the seafront. I can say that I stayed there for free because I stayed in the penthouse for free when I was squatting it.
Wow. No, you didn't tell me. I don't remember telling me that. And I remember, oh my God, yeah,
but now it's a posh. Yeah, now it's a posh B&B, and I can say I stayed in the penthouse for free. So I'm pretty cool about that. With my dog, and I'm sure they don't allow dogs there now. And I used to sort of go into public toilets to wash, keep up my hygiene and wash my hair. And I always sort of laugh about it because I think, well, the public toilets didn't smell very nice, but once I'd finished with all me lotions and the coconut and the apple, you walk out and it smelled really lovely. So yeah, I was homeless for a little while, stayed in a car, sofa surfed on people, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually I was unemployed as well, so I didn't have a lot of money. And eventually I bumped into this guy who liked the look of my dog. And we just got chatting and he said, "I think you might be dyslexic." And I said, "I don't know what that is." And he kind of helped me, and I managed to get accommodation. I managed to get some exams, pass the exams, do a creative writing course, do a law course, do lots of different courses. And that was the first time, I suppose, that I felt that my life was valued and worth.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's worth people knowing about that. I mean, you did tell me a good chunk of that last time. I remember telling you, but it's worth it as an intro today because, like I said, it's an astonishing story what you've gone for itself. But like what we're going to cover next on now, this is a fantastic message. Like it, you know already. Like I was found dyspraxic when I was 28, so it was like I was later on in life, and it caused I had no end of trouble growing up, same as you. And you learn, I think, sometimes when you get that something to fight more for what you've got. I guess I'm incredibly stubborn and single-minded, and I know you are. Like to go and do what you've done now, and I don't even know where to start from. This was topics from the last couple of months, but we'll start on. I think with the thing then that you're perhaps still slowly working on. I know we talked about last time was your thriller, wasn't it? I know you've been working on a thriller since the last time we spoke. So is that still going along slowly at the moment? Is it?
Yeah, it's still going on. I try to write every other day on the thriller because every time I look at the page, I think, right, okay, I've got the next bit already in the next chapter. I've done about 12 chapters so far in the book, and it's a thriller about this woman who's got lots. She's definitely got non-visible disabilities, but she's quite fun to be with, but she's also very sinister because she likes killing people. So
I have to ask on that. They always say when you're writing books like that, there's something of you in the main character. So you're not going around killing people on the side, are you?
I hope not. No, otherwise I think I'll be hearing the knock on the door immediately. Or maybe the police breaking down the door.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I just wanted a thriller that was a bit different, that would involve this sort of character who's so fun to be with, but she's got this sort of, I don't know, this sinister side about her, that she enjoys this other side to her. So I'm still working on it, and it is a work in progress, but it's, yeah, I've done about 12 chapters now. So I'm really hopeful that I can sort of get my head down and finish it so I can publish it next year. And really, that's the plan.
Fingers crossed, because I've told you off mic already. Like, I've got my first novel nearly done now. That's to be 12 bloody years. So
yeah, this has been 5 years. It takes a long time, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think you do when you got like a disability that we both got. I find you have to put 3 times as much work in to get the bloody thing done. It drives somebody mental completely. Longer things like that. But the other thing is, obviously, that's happened since the last time we talked, was your charity book, Rainbows in the Jar, which I'm featured in as well. So
yes,
I think we better tell people about that next, hadn't we then?
Yes. Rainbows in a Jar. It was really born about when COVID started back in March 2020, because my sister is a nurse, so she was a key support worker during that awful period. And I suppose I was really worried about you're hearing all these awful stories about people dying, and medical professionals dying, and because they're so exposed to it all the time, etc. And then she caught COVID, and it was the first bout of it, and I was so worried. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my sister. She's got COVID, because of, you see all these awful figures of people dying all the time. So the book, I decided to do a book called Rainbows in a Jar, which you are featured in, and it's an amazing, wonderful poem that you've done called Things Had Changed for the Good. And it's really an anthology of people who submitted their work to support the NHS going forward, because a lot of the time people are critical of the NHS. It was also private medical care is coming up now, and it was to say, hold on a minute, this started by a guy called Andrew Bevin, and he started the NHS because he wanted everybody to have access to medical care, not just a few. And one of the quotes that he said that I put in the book was, and I quote him, "The NHS will last as long as there are folk left with faith to fight for it." And that's so much in those words. And I just wanted to raise awareness about the staff, the disease that is happening, and making sure that people are safe. So I just started the book Rainbows in a Jar to support all those key workers.
Yes, I tell you, everybody, get it, because it's a fantastic book, and I'm definitely proud and privileged to actually be selected and in that book as well. So now, yeah, okay, we'll look at then what you've been up to. Well, we'll look at the last couple of months, because you've got a lot going on at the moment. So I don't really know where to start the rest of it. So there's so much stuff, Sam. But tell us about your theatre project at the moment. Because I know you've got sort of quite a big theatre project in the go. It was in the editing stage, haven't you? So
yeah, I've written a play about the First World War. I went to Ypres, or Ypres as it's called now in Belgium, to see some of the battle sites, and really moved by them. And I wrote this play probably about 4 years ago, maybe longer than that actually. And I just felt so moved about some of the stories that I heard from people's experiences of that time. And And so I thought it'd be really nice to put it on as a professional production. And so I contacted a theatre and had a chat with them, and they were really interested in it. And I also contacted the Arts Council, and they were, very supportive of the project. But what I didn't know, because of my dyslexia, I'm sure, Andy, you struggle sometimes with your dyspraxia. I didn't really know how the forms work or how you get the funding, particularly, because whenever I've done projects, there's been funding already in place, so I've been paid for the projects, but I haven't done my own project where I've had to then apply for funding. So you can get accessibility support to assist you with the forms, but I struggled with that form, so I got that one wrong.
God.
But I rang them up.
God.
It was fine. Yeah, I rang them up and I got the right form and did it correctly. And that's now been granted. So I'm hopeful that we now get funding for the project. So it's very much in its infancy, but if we do get the funding, we've got the venue, we've got the director, we've got the potential actors, apart from them auditioning for a part to see what part suits. And then we'll move forward with it. But I've just been busy editing the play to just put my further stamp on it, I guess.
Definitely fingers crossed to that one for you. I know straight away you've got, and I don't want to give too much away here, obviously, but I know if you get the funding correctly, there's certainly plans to go to, should we say, other countries, and straight away, and you've got a lot of plans to go with this play, certainly. So
yeah. If I get funding and the play's a success, then I would like to consider going and touring with it, going to maybe America or Canada or other places where they might be interested in that sort of subject matter.
We'll say no more on that, but definitely keep us informed.
Subject to funding, unless I win the lottery, that might be different.
Yeah, well, if it happens, I'm not saying if you win the lottery, send some money over to me for donations.
Yeah, absolutely, we'd have everything finished and done, and we wouldn't have to worry about
both could retire happily with our crews and stuff, definitely. So now, but I know seriously, you've been involved in. You've certainly. I'm just going to go through them all bit by bit what we've got in the listing, the logical order I've got things wrote down, which is no logic and no order with me. But tell us next about. I know you've done some readings and bits and pieces. Or first of all, Medway Deaf Conference, which I said Medway Deaf Conference before when I read it, so that's my dyspraxia kicking. So, but tell us about that then next time. What you did there.
It's interesting. It's the first Medway Deaf Conference to explore talking about death and bereavement and end of life. And I was invited along to read poetry and give us a short speech. And it was an amazing event because it was attended by funeral directors, people who have been bereaved and were talking about their experiences. And it all comes from this lady called Sheila, who has started it. And she started up the Deaf Cafe around Medway. And out of that Deaf Cafe, she started the conference and organised this conference. And it was really interesting listening to the funeral directors and what they do when somebody, passes or dies, and what the process is and how they look after the person. And I gave them a funny story about my mother, because if my mother died, she wanted to be frozen for 3 months. And be airlifted by rockets.
Well, they always say with families, there's no such weird as families. Just that's all I'm going to say there.
So when she died, I had to go and buy, because obviously I couldn't afford a NASA spaceship. So when she died, I had to put some of her ashes into very giant rockets and send her off that way. Very big, expensive fireworks, I think they are. And so there's loads of different ways that people can, have their, if you like, celebration of life. So you can have an eco funeral where you can have trees planted and, lots of different ways. And it was very interesting. And they had mindfulness there. they had a lady who's the funeral director who
Wow.
actually attends crash sites all over around the world and marks. So when you see the TV where they've got numbers where the forensic, what you would think the forensic teams are, it's actually her team doing that kind of mapping to see what they can retrieve for the families. And it was very interesting. I could have listened to her all day, actually. She was very interesting in what she does. So I was doing the poetry for it, all about death, and looking at it in a serious way, but also with a bit of fun, trying to look at that difficult subject. It's a very challenging subject that most people don't want to talk about. So it was about raising awareness about that, really.
I know there's a podcast going around, and Amanda used to listen to a lot when she lost her dad a couple of years ago. I forgot the name of it, where they look at it in a very as light-hearted a way as you can, really. And I think it's a real challenging thing to do. So that's what you've got the respect for that one straight away. Now, I want to talk about next then. But you've done this also was really interesting. You've just done a creative writing or workshop, should say, over at Luton Primary School. So, which I think made me think a lot of some more deprived areas in Manchester, certainly. So tell us about this workshop we did there then, because there was quite a few bits and pieces done on this, actually.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was a project that I was invited to do for a positivity parade by a company called Ideas Test. And they invited me to do the creative writing workshop. And it was to look at positive words in this in the workshop, because some of the school is in a challenging area, and so you got lots of different makeup of children who would be there that you can work with. And I worked with about 20 lovely kids, and we all were writing slogans and drawings and just saying what do you like about where you live, what you do, what could be better, what's a positive message about it, what story would you say. So we had some lovely stories that came out of it. You know, I like Medway because of, and I love living here, and I like this aspect about it, and things like that. So it was just about getting the kids engaged with something a bit different, and that was writing. And if anybody struggled, I could see straight away to assist them because of my dyslexia. Sometimes that gives you an added bonus, because you can see if people are engaging or not, and they loved it. And I did another writing workshop in another school with another company, and that was for a creative estuary project. And
wow.
And again, that was again to do with looking at positive messages, but getting the kids to do a writing poetry collage of a story or a poem or something positive. So we had that, and there was other people that I worked with. So I worked with an archaeologist and a fashion designer and a printer. So they did their part of that, and I did the writing part, and it worked really well. It was really good.
Fantastic. No, so I do love what you said, Mike, because you're great at encouraging people into trying out things that they won't have the opportunity to do for whatever reason. That's why. So tell us about then, obviously next then, because I know you've done some work over at Survivors in Poetry in London as well, haven't you? So
yeah, Survivors Poetry is an amazing organisation. It's run by a lady called Debbie, and it's an international, since I suppose COVID has come along, it's all been on Zoom, and so you get a lot of international poets as well. So you get people from America, India, Europe, Australia, all sort of zooming in, if you like. And she has organised these events to raise awareness about the fact that people can survive trauma. So people who've maybe experienced mental health or abuse or whatever the trauma might be. She just encourages people to join in and write poetry or tell a story or play a song or sing a song. And it's really a lovely event, and I'm always so happy to perform and share my poetry with them, because you get a lovely audience. Everybody's really supportive. They have supportive guests, and they have people come along and just perform. And then out of that, Debbie was kind enough to invite me to perform at the Farm Fest Festival in Rickmansworth in London.
I was going to ask you about that next, actually. That's enough. That's how well we know each other there.
Yeah. So I was so invited to perform at the festival, and I absolutely loved it. I met a number of other poets who are fantastic. When you hear of their CVs, it's just like, wow, you know, I feel absolutely humbled to be sharing a stage with you. And it was lovely. The audience were lovely. Everything about the project was great because it the Farm Fest Festival helps people who are in need of assistance, so for refugees. They're a big thing with the refugee community because they assist people who need help from war-torn countries or political issues going on and all the rest of it. So it's a lovely environment and a lovely place.
Now, let's have a look. The other thing I've got to ask you about before we go into what plans you got coming up, because I know we've got one or two things we'll talk about in what happens next in a second, but I know you've been doing a bit of public speaking, haven't you, as well? On, was it HMHC loans, was it you told me about before?
No, it's
have I wrote that down wrong? That won't be the first time.
That doesn't matter. That's because we're neurodiverse, Andy, and that's what happens.
Exactly. Get used to me. So.
I get my words mixed up all the time. I say things like park car when I'm in car park, but people just have to get over that, don't they?
Tough. As I say to them, tough, deal with it, right?
It's MHS Homes, and I was kindly invited to attend for I think it was dyslexia. I can't even say it now. Dyslexia awareness and neurodiverse awareness, and so I did a presentation and poetry performance for them, and it went really well. And I'm very happy to have been invited to do it, take Q&A, and it's really nice to hear from the floor people's struggles sometimes, what you can have, like reasonable adjustments. What does neurodiversity look like? So, for example, you might have somebody who's autistic that always wants to sit in that blue chair every single day, but that day you got in early and you fancy sitting in that blue chair. Well, that blue chair might be the comfort that autistic person uses to get through their day. So it's just raising those awarenesses about different types of non-visible disabilities, and just maybe thinking outside the box and just treating people as your equals, and being respectful at all times. And, you know, for example, I always give an example about somebody who might want to sit by the window, and they might not be neurodiverse, but they might not have told you, but they have problems with their sight. So they might be visually impaired, and working by a window might assist them. So it's things like that, and you know, and saying to people, whenever I start my presentations, I always describe myself. So I'll say, if I'm wearing glasses, I'm wearing glasses. If not, I'll just say I'm a mixed heritage white woman with messy blonde hair, and sometimes I wear glasses and sometimes I don't, and I'm wearing a blue top, and a blue top, if you put your hand in the fridge, that's what blue feels like. And try to give those visuals for somebody who hasn't got the visual sight or has struggles with the visual sight. So so I just did a presentation for them. I had lovely comments, which is always really nice because you never know what you're going to get back. And it's so nice to hear that I had lovely comments, and I'd really love to see them again, and I'm sure we'll be doing something in the future. So that was really positive for me.
Brilliant stuff. No, great. Now, okay, we're going to look at what you've got coming up next then, because I know you've got something coming up in December, and I'm not sure what projects you've got in mind for next year yet as well. So I'm sure you can tell me something in a minute. But do you want to tell us about what you're doing in December over at Milton Keynes University?
Yeah, I'm going to be going to a university, Milton Keynes. They've got an event on. And I'm going to be their speaker and do some presentations for them. So I'm really so looking forward to attending and presenting to them. It would be a new a new opportunity for me, although I do quite a lot of public speaking. I think the last university I did was actually Medway University to the medical students on neurodiversity. So this will be different because it's to lots of different people from various universities coming and hearing me talk about my neurodiversity, my lived experience, and hopefully reading some of my poetry. So that's in December. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and meeting everybody there.
Do you have much of a plan to 2024 lined up, or is it play and see what happens?
Yeah, well, I'm hopefully I'm going to be finishing my book and get that published, and then my play should be going on at the theatre, subject to Arts Council funding. But I'm hopeful for that because of the positivity I've had from them. And also we have in Medway, we've created Medway, we have something called Festival 24. So I'm hoping to do some poetry performances and creative writing workshops. So I know that there will be things happening, that sometimes I don't always know them until a few weeks before.
Yeah, I think it's nature of the beast. Sometimes you get involved in creative stuff, because I've always found that is the things like first time I've done podcasting, you just things sneak up on you sometimes, and you don't know about it till sometimes a day or two before, which has happened to me recently as well. So yeah, so I know exactly. Good luck, Sam. Anyway, so obviously wrap up part one for you. I want to let you spend a bit of time in your poetry for us. If you want people to find out more about you, where do you recommend they go?
About what I do.
You. No, about you. Yeah, about you.
Yeah.
About what you do. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
So you can look on my Instagram, my Insta, Sam Rapp, the dyslexic poet. I think it's Dyslexic Poet 123, and you can look at my Facebook page, Sam Rapp Dyslexic Poet, and Fun with Words Productions, which is my creative writing company that I have on social media. And I put a writing prompt up every day, and I let people know about any workshops that I might be doing. I'm soon to be starting up some more online workshops as well, so I've had some interest for those. My book, Rant, Dyslexic Me, is on Amazon. The NHS Rainbows in a Jar book will be on Amazon probably next year now, because we're getting too close to the Christmas period and the rush. And just to look out at the local libraries for the 6 Women Who Shook the World Circle of 6 project, where my story features in that. So and I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on all the social media handles and YouTube. So if you just Google Sam Rapp Dyslexic Poet, Fun with Words Productions, you should be able to find me there easily enough.
Brilliant. No, great stuff. Good luck with the future, Sam, of it. So you know you're always welcome back on here again anyway. So right, we'll wrap up part 1 here. Hang around, everybody, and we will see you all in 2 shakes of the dice.